in some of our marketplaces, we could not get our borrowers accepted offers, right? In Washington State, for example, everybody's bidding over ask cash, and our people are like putting 40% down with a jumbo mortgage, and they can't get offer accepted because someone's throwing, a cash offer with 100,000 over ask. Okay, our client will do the same thing. He's got the cash to do it, but and this one's not, so that gets accepted. So thus, we started this cash to win program years ago right there. So what we did was basically take any borrower, make sure they qualified, and then we convey to the real estate agent, hey, they're cash equivalent. So what does that mean in English is you have your own client that you refer to David. David makes sure they qualify. He issues you the go ahead, go out there, and if you want to make cash offers, knock yourself out. You make the offer in cash. Wallick and Volk Inc. as the buyer, cash. The only thing I would recommend you do is the inspection, because you want that, was it 10 days or whatever? You want that 10-day inspection. You want to know if it needs a roof or something.
Right.
Those things matter. There's no other contingencies. Wallick and Volk in that one account, you're making a $600,000 offer, right? I'll use $600,000 the whole way through. We're staying consistent with the details, all right? So make cash offer right away, they accept. Now we're in that 10-day period, get that inspection done. We quickly go to your client. We perform a resale agreement, selling them that property. So they're locked up. We're locked up. Everyone's good to go. All we're waiting for now is the inspection. Notice I didn't say anything about the mortgage. I do the thing that every real estate agent should be jumping for joy, and I'm just a guy that'll call it like it is. And every loan officer with a brain is jumping for joy. I get you out of the loan process. You never call saying, where's my CD? Where's my appraisal? Where's my this? Where's my this? Do you have this? Do you have that? And I get it. It's your client. You want to do that. And on the same side, they got to do their job, right? So you're in and out. In 10 days, you've sold for your client's behalf. We just bought a property we don't want. For a client we hardly know. So clearly we're giving them a mortgage. Why would we do this otherwise, right? So it really adds a lot of integrity and confidence to the situation. So that same example, we use the $600,000, right? I get this all the time and I don't understand it. Oh, there's no discount for cash. Yeah, no, that's not true. It's not just about cash, it's about time, it's about security, whatever, right? Maybe the house that drops on the market Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. asking $600,000 isn't going to take a $570,000 offer at 1:02 p.m. Right? So as the agent, use your head with the clients that are short funds or only have the down payment 20 days on the market, 180 days on the market, and say, let's find you a way to manipulate this cash situation in your benefit. So let's talk about that person. Same thing, 604 months, the market's getting soft. I'm starting to see for sale signs all over my neighborhood. And what neighborhood are we not starting to see that, right? Even though it's not a lot of inventory, it feels like a lot when you saw no for sale signs for a long time, right? So if they accept that offer 570, now Wallick and Volk can go to your client and sell that property at any number we desire, right? So let's say in this particular example, the client's got their down payment and maybe a few extra bucks, but they got most of their down payment. We could sell that property for $600,000, pay their closing costs, pay for like a 2-1 buy down, right? Even though they borrowed, they bought for 600 and we bought for 570. We're not benefiting from it. We're giving you that monopoly money to create transaction. We can't do anything about their down payment with that money, obviously, but we can do a lot of other things, like a 2-1 buy down paid for by the seller. In that example, the mortgage payment for that consumer is $689 less than it would be doing it the way they would normally do it. Just going out, getting a 5% down, 10% down mortgage, and buying the house the traditional way you do it. So even though I sold that house for 30 and more and used that money to buy down the situation and take the money from equity versus their pocket, and all they need is their down payment, and their payment's $689 less year one. It'll be a few $100 less year two, and by year three, we're praying that rates are low enough for them to refinance anyways. Cash is king, right? So the argument I always get is, well, yeah, that was when it was a seller market. Come on. If it's a seller's market, cash is necessary because you can't compete. You've lived through that, some of you guys, right? You really can't compete with a cash buyer. I can compete with BlackRock being the buyer because BlackRock doesn't want to pay over the price of the property. They want to use their leverage, cash, and name to secure the property at a value that is worthy for them to turn it into a rental property or whatever, right? So you can go head to head with any cash offer there is. Go to a balanced market. You got houses that are buying and selling at a pretty normalized pace, right? The negotiation is pretty much 50% seller advantage, 50% buyer advantage. It's called the real world. We actually negotiate. Like I don't know if you guys know this, but in your world at one time, you actually negotiated and you weren't afraid to throw a number out that wasn't on Zillow, asking 630, I'll offer 630. No, you weren't afraid to throw 565 out there and see what happens, right? A long time ago, that started to shift, and people were like, oh, we can't insult the seller with that offer. It's not insulting. It's a start point. They set the high, you set the low, and now here we go, right? And whoever blinks next loses. Whoever talks next loses, and that's how you do it. So when you get to a balanced market, cash gives you that same advantage. You go to a buyer's market, cash is definitely king. It's a buyer's market. This house has been on the market 270 days. I've got cash. I will pay X amount of dollars. True story. And this is in 2024. I readopted my mother-in-law after a failed situation. After a failed marriage up in Payson, not to my original father-in-law, but to someone she met after my father-in-law died. She escapes back to the valley. There's one of those park model, own the land, by the unit type of thing. And there was a unit in there for $139,900. You own the land, and it's been on the market for 120 days. On the listing, it's plates, spoons, anything in the closet, all the furniture, everything goes. So, there's only two choices as to why that's happening at a place called Venture Out in Mesa, Arizona. A person died, or a person went someplace to die, and nobody wants their stuff. And it turns out to be the second. She went to a home, and the kids want nothing to do with this property. Offered $105,000 cash, 10 days they took it. That listing was $139,900. So if I subscribe to the, don't be bold, just don't insult them. That's a crazy offer. I would have spent all kinds of more money on that property than I needed to. Same thing applies for you with cash. So the way it works is you refer the loan in like you would any other pre-qual. He does the work to make sure they qualify. When I say the work, he's got the documents. Our underwriters looked at it. They've already approved that these people qualify because I'm about to throw 570 G's at this problem, right? So we know they qualify. Now you're driving around like Cash King. And when you want to make it, and you do the exact same thing with your client that you would do any other day. You drive them around, you take them to lunch, you bring them over here, you do this, you do that. You find the one that's right. You have the discussion about what you're going to offer. They agree. Everything is the same, except for when you make the offer, you put Wallick and Volk on there, use the cash to win at wvmb.com, which David will get you all that information. That contract comes to me. I don't care where I'm at. This is how much I do. Because I just signed one in your parking lot. I see that I have one, and I click. Because what's my risk at this point? You're making an offer. Clearly, it wouldn't have gotten this far if the process didn't take place. I don't need to start investigating. I'm not running AVMs. I'm not calling my underwriter. I'm ding, 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 ding. I got 15 Brian Rogersons on this thing. Wallick and Volk just made an offer. And if it comes together, then we're going to have a conversation. Hey, David, we got your thing here approved. Client's good on the other side. Yeah, we're good. All right. Have them get their inspection done. That's all we have to do. You guys are in and out, off to the races. Does that concept make sense?
I think you mentioned now you're talking about that client buying the house, right? So you said something about no appraisal needed?
No. So we don't need an appraisal on your side. We'll need an appraisal on the mortgage side, but you're out of the loop. You're commission in hand, looking for the next person to take advantage of the program, right? What we've done now is we've immediately, upon your offer acceptance and prior to us putting out the cash, we've gone to your client and we said, here's your resale agreement. We structured it this way. This is how you wanted to do it. And we start that mortgage immediately. We're not slowing down anything for that appraisal, right? So we're firmly believing that we know what we're doing and the appraisal is going to be fine, and can have conversations at a high level to say, hey, this is how it works, right? So that side of the equation is all done over here, and you're out. So the cash is beautiful from that standpoint. I think the value is multifold, but being able to structure something for the consumer that they would never be able to do otherwise because they've got to use their own funds. Unless you're running around with people flush with cash and don't care about anything, and I doubt that's the majority of your buyers today, this is the time and place product because it takes people that probably couldn't do something and turns them into people that can do something.
If I miss it, I just don't understand. So when Wallick buys the property, and then the client then buys it for Volk, but so if the Wallick buys it for 570, what is the client obligated to buy it for Wallick?
The most that the least amount they would buy it for is our acquisition cost plus whatever the title costs were on both the acquisition and the sale, because there are some costs, right, which come out to maybe a couple $1,000, right? So best case scenario, they can just buy it for 572 and get a regular mortgage because they're flush with cash. They don't care about structure. They don't care about, any credits. I got 300 grand down. I don't care. That hasn't happened yet, just honestly. The normalized situation is we paid 570. David has a conversation with the consumer. Okay, they were originally asking 600 for this house. We know that's about the highest we could sell it to you for. Would you like to take advantage of that $30,000 in the form of seller paid closing costs, a 2-1 buy down, elimination of PMI up front, plus some closing costs? Here's all your options. Every one of them is better than the one you had on your own. Which would you like? Mm-hmm. And we put them on a resale agreement for say 600,000, showing that we're going to pay for a 2-1 lender funded buy down in 2% closing costs or whatever, and all that money is actually used to your client's benefit. It's not a profit situation for us. No, it's a transaction situation for us. We get a transaction we wouldn't have had. We get a relationship with you that we hope turns into everything, not just one thing, and that's how we build our business, right? If the buyer's contingent on like a sale of another property, okay, you hold that one because we're going there next. See, I think you either read the PowerPoint or are you smart enough to know what's next?
I'm thinking for myself.
Okay, perfect. All right.
So essentially,
we can buy their trailing property.
Yep.
But let's stay on the purchase side for a second. We expect that when we close, that we would have your client in that home within 14 days, because we should have done our job already. Qualifies, did everything we asked of them, right? He has the pay stubs, the bank statements, the tax returns, the explanation letter as to why, his aunt spent $12.53 at Circle K on June of 2014. Whatever the underwriter asks for. I also speak sarcasm. I'm bilingual, English and sarcasm.
Please speak your
So, whatever it is he does, all we're waiting for at that point is title and appraisal, right? So that we can get these people into the house. So we're in and out of these properties really quick. And by doing such, that allows the cash to keep flowing. It also allows us not to really charge anything that's from a profit standpoint. All we do is cover our costs. So whatever the costs were to acquire with the title company and whatever the seller costs of the title are, that comes out of that 30,000. So it might be a couple grand, but it's not profit. It's just cost of doing business. We also put 570 G's out on the street, and there's no ROI on that. And the last thing we want to do is be in a position where we're owning a property that we have to turn around and sell now, because mathematically, that's not going to work. We're going to lose money no matter what. We haven't had that situation yet, but we came close. They lost their jobs after we acquired the property. So we held on to it long enough for them to get reemployed, and the deal went through anyways. So that's the cash side, the cash to win, the purchase side. What I never expected was what happened next, which is exactly what you're talking about. So all of a sudden, I'm like, why are we hardly doing any of these on the purchase side? Is it that like people are just set in their way in the real estate? Because we had a lot of real estate agents say, I got that. Oh, I got that already. I said, yes, I know. You got an email from Easy Knock in August of 2011. So you got it. You've never used it. You've never spoken to Easy Knock. Because you did, you know, they charge 3% plus rent and all the other stuff. It costs you like a crazy amount of money. Wallick and Volk is a power buyer, right? Open Door, Easy Knock, those are iBuyers, right? Buy low, sell high, make the spread, charge 15% in fees to do it, whatever. We're a power buyer. Take the power of our cash, create transactions with our business partners so that you can grow your business and we can grow our business through transactions. The whole purpose of this program, in my opinion, is for us to only worry about what we do and we don't care what everybody else does. We have a lot of people pretending they have it, they don't have it, they're trying to figure it out. They're going to emulate it at some point, but whatever. But we have a 3-year head start. And again, we only have to worry about ourselves. The other thing is that we don't ever want their property, ever. So we're in it to create home ownership. We're in it to beat, you know, BlackRock at their games, or institutional investors at becoming the buyers, or even just investors that are out taking it. Like, we want families in home, because I am a firm believer that home ownership is the way to generational wealth. And I think if you heard me earlier, when someone asked me when's the best time to buy a home, it's like, do you own one now? No. Now, it doesn't matter when, because time in real estate heals all wounds. If you bought a property in Arizona at the absolute height of the madness before the collapse, that house is worth more today. So what world do you know of that time heals all wounds? If you bought Enron, right, what's it worth today? You could have bought the most expensive house in the height of the pre-crash market. It's worth more today than it was then. You buy Enron, shut out a lot, right? Next. All right, trailing properties. So what ended up happening was people started coming in and said, hey, my client's contingent, and that's the only thing stopping me from selling them a home. I'm like, what? Yeah, my client's contingent, and I can't sell them a home, so David can't get a mortgage, and you can't get a sale. So I said, well, what's the situation with the house they have? And they started to come in, and I'm like, all right, wait a second. So they have this house in Wisconsin that's worth $600,000. They owe $200,000 on it, but they can't afford the payment and the payment mathematically to qualify for this mortgage. But they could proceed if we did something for them, right? Yeah, okay. We started buying their trailing properties contractually, where we buy their property for the AVM value, right? Because I've got to pay attention now to value, because this isn't their house anymore. It's somebody else's house soon, hopefully. So we give them 70% typically of the AVM, which paid off their mortgage, gave them the scratch they needed to proceed with you as a regular buying customer. David does a regular mortgage for them because they already used the cash to win over here, right? And now we own their property in Wisconsin. The beautiful thing is the client chooses the real estate agent that's going to list it, might even already be listed, right? If it's already listed, the listing agent lets us come in and acquire it with no commissions because it's not a real sale. We're not the end buyer. And they immediately get to list it with us. So they don't lose their side of it. Your client frees themselves from this Wisconsin property so they can move forward out here and buy a property. Think about Arizona. How many people are coming from other places still, right? So like in Texas, Arizona, California, we get a lot of coming from everywhere. They own property all over the place. That's where that $30 million number is coming from, because we are everywhere. Hawaii, Virginia, whatever. So we pay off their mortgage, we leave a spread, right? Because we don't know what the market's going to do exactly. But if we do it right, there's 30% sitting in this reserve. They should be able to sell and net, hopefully, the lion's share of that. Where it doesn't work is when, in the beginning, we were running off the CMA of the listing agent. So the listing agent would give us a CMA for $740,000, and we'd buy the house for $740,000. At that time, we were only holding back 20%. So I buy it for $740, hold back 20%, and they start bringing me offers for $650. I'm like, you just wait a second, you just CMA'd this thing 10 days ago for $7. Yeah, but this is what the market is. Yeah, okay. From now on, we'll figure out the value, right? But it's still a great way to do. So we do get them out of their current situation, and the equity is contractually theirs, less the fees. The fee is 1.5% of the acquisition price that we get, and the per diem for the number of days we have it, so that people are interested in moving their homes instead of sitting on them. Because I give you multiple examples. The record right now is 343 days. Cheyenne, Wyoming. Bought it in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Realtor said this thing will sell in 30 days. 343 days later, it was 30 days, and it finally sold.
What's your commission structure on that for the agent listing the house?
Whatever they originally agreed to with the client. Client's still your
What if
client.
it wasn't listed yet?
Even if it's not listed, because their client owns the home, right? They're going to choose the realtor of their choice, negotiate what the terms would be. The only difference is Wallick and Volk will be the owner and then sign the listing agreement. But you and your client worked out whatever your details
Because
are.
they're still paying that through that.
So let's jump back to the other thing. Let's go backwards back to cash to win purchase. I'm the solution to what could happen with the buyer broker commission. Now, I have my own personal opinions, and since I get to talk and no one's going to stop me, I'll say it like it is. I think it's all bullshit. I think it never should have been negotiated. I think everyone's always known that everything comes from the price of the house. How you can pretend that you don't know that? It's all been paid from the same place. But let's say it happens. And let's say real estate agents on the listing side start doing the whole, you pay me 3% because I'm amazing, and you pay nothing to the buyer's broker because they're idiots. Because that's really what they're saying. They're saying, I'm smarter than everybody else. I do all the work. The buyer broker doesn't do anything, so we should get no commission. One could argue it's flipped, but I don't want to get into that because both are important, right? But so say they list this house, $600,000, $600,000, 2% to the listing agent, because you're not seeing 3 all the time anymore. Maybe you are, maybe 2.5.
You might see more.
Might see more. Well, I'm not buying that part either, because anyone
I
that
can sell it to you.
you could, yeah. Well,
I don't want to get you off track, but,
Right.
but that's the root of my question. Is especially on the buyer side.
You can have
there's
any
a
number
good
you
case-
want.
There's a good case for that number being higher than it may normally be.
On the buyer side.
On the buyer side.
Yeah, right. On the listing
But I
side.
see
right.
that there could be advantage.
Sure.
In this where, like, all of a sudden they're like, hey, whatever, I'm gonna get an extra percent.
Well, let's just use that example. This
I just didn't know what your structure was.
So I'll pull it all together right here. Listing agent, $600,000 house, 2502 West Happy Valley or whatever. I think I'm somewhere near that address. And they say 2% to me, 0% to the world. Kiss my rear end. We don't need you anyways. This house will sell itself. Okay. If I'm a buyer's agent, I know one house I'm not showing. I'm not bringing my client. They're creating a problem. They're creating redlining. But whatever. With cash to win, you could walk right up to that guy and say, okay, it's a 600. I don't think you even taken into account that you're not paying for the buyer's broker in this number, but I'll give you 570 close in 10 days. And you've already got a buyer's broker agreement with your client, right? And maybe it's 2%, maybe it's 3%, whatever. That's where we would use 3% of that spread to pay the traditional commission that would otherwise not get paid. We can create that place for you. You could, Wallick and Volk buys it, we sign a dual representation with you, who's already got the buyer under contract, broker's agreement, and we agree to your terms and we pay you at our closing.
That leads to a question that David and I have talked a lot about over months. My house.
Yep.
My personal house. I sell it to you. Now I don't own the house, but I'm gonna list the house.
Yep.
So I don't own the house. I don't have any of those disclosures, or is that correct?
That's right. Wallick and Volk signs. I don't know. Never seen it. NA, unknown. Do you know if it's got a roof? I don't know. I think it might have a roof.
Right.
Do you know what kind of roof it is? over the ceiling? Like, I don't know. So every one of our disclosures are NA. My favorite one now is
there's no longer actually, even though I would get the equity off of that sale, a portion of it, there's no actual connection to Michael B. King anymore to that house.
The only thing that you could do, I think, if you chose to, is give them the disclosure that you would have given had you been the seller, but I don't know why you would do that.
Oh, that's a good point.
It's caveat emptor at this point, right? I've owned this thing for 15 minutes. I've never driven by it. And I get like all the time, what, how do you not know this? I'm like, I don't even know what state the property's in unless you tell me. Like, right? I get offers coming in on my phone. I got to go to my assistant and say, is this thing above water if we accept this? Because like, I don't, this $30 million of property flown all over the country and all this stuff is happening, right? So I have other people tracking like, okay. And to that point, we don't accept the offer on that property without your client's participation for at least the first 60 days. We try to do it for the entire time it's on the market because we want them vested in the decision. But some people just disappear on us. Like, I don't want nothing to do with it anymore. I'm like, oh, it's still your equity, but you'd think you'd want to pay attention, but I guess this is a good offer, we'll take it.
At some point in time, you want to be able to say,
we do. We have to.
180 days, we're going to take this off.
And we've had that already. We've had the full spectrum of things. We have a house in Burbank that the AVM came in at $1.4 million. They only owed like $100,000, and they needed $500,000 to do the transaction with us in the next state, which happened to be Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. So it's a sophisticated borrower, $1.4 million home, owe 500 grand or whatever, 100 grand. Okay, no brainer. If I had done things the way we were originally doing them, I just throw some flat number at that thing and give them all their cash. Start charging them a per diem on it and pray for the best. I already figured out at that point, let every deal be circumstantial on the trailing property side. How much money do you need to buy the Coeur d'Alene house? I need $500,000. Okay, you owe 100, you need another 500. We'll give you a $650,000 advance so it covers the closing and you get the money you need and then off to the races. That was last April. The very first buyer that came to Burbank to make an offer on that property, which we accepted for $1,650,000. The inspection was done. The whole house had to be redone electrically.
Oh, wow.
The entire house. Now, we have this huge holdback, right? So all we did was go to the client and say, hey, we have a problem here, and more or less you got a problem here, because I could sell it to a wholesaler tomorrow and get out from underneath my nut, but I want you to get your equity. You know, you need to get an electrician, you know, came in. It was like a $75,000 thing for like a 1,300 square foot house in Burbank. But it sold. Had another one up in Pinnacle Peak area, and we bought a house, and you know, of course, the house is worth what you tell me. And then as soon as we own it, oh, it needs a new roof and an air conditioning. And that's why you're getting all these 625 offers on a $700,000 house. So we turned around because we're sitting on that reserve, and we put a new roof on the house and air conditioning and sold it for $725. Now we got all our money back from fixing it, and we actually helped the consumer because of our improvements, they netted more our way than they would have their way.
So are you seeing more, because I see now two ways, now I understand where you're coming from. So most often, I'm guessing, assuming, most often that house is already listed, the agents are doing their work in the background and they know all the stuff in the back. We've discussed it and said, okay, now's the time to pull this plug on this because this is the opportunity, and then they flip it.
Most properties are listed. Every agent that listed gets that I'm just creating this temporary situation so that your client can do what you always intended for them to do in the first place. And I'm protecting you because I don't care who the listing agent is. We're not in real estate.
Right.
We're not like I've got a preferred group of listers. I'm not calling Greg Haig up and getting my 990, right? It's you guys.
But it's more often not, it's more often like that than okay, we have this program, Cash to Win, let's set this up. You guys come in, buy the house, okay, now you go to a hotel and we're gonna sell you a
So
house.
our best people, best. Cindy Bradley, been with the company forever. She's in Cheyenne. She probably puts 20 people a month into a cash to win conceptual agreement, which is you're the listing agent. You tell your client, hey, I'm going to try to sell it, and you're contingent right now, but they're not going to accept this. At some point, this contingency is going to have to drop on this other house you're buying, right? They'll only do it for so long. And when that time comes, we're going to have to possibly go into this cash to win transaction if this doesn't sell by then. She puts 20 out a month, and 2 or 3 end up cash to wins. She does 20 loans because they sell it and she becomes. So her world, so we use it as a security blanket. If I have a contract with you, you are not obligated to sell me that house until you've sold me that house. So you could use that as a security blanket for your client the entire way. Great listing presentation, right? Hey, here's how I list different. We have a relationship with Wallick and Volk. They'll buy this house. The equity's still yours. It'll let you get and do your thing. We got to run the numbers and make sure you're a fit. But if you are, we can have this as a backup, and you could, with confidence, go out and now start buying. And hopefully, you're the agent. If you're their listing agent, hopefully you're their buyer's agent because they're going in the same market or whatever. But if you're not, you still create opportunity. Or you think about all the people coming here from all over the country. You're creating an opportunity that would have never happened. The whole thing was designed to create transactions. The other thing that it was designed for, and I'm just going to be straight up with you, is real estate agents and loan officers for the longest time have had no unique selling proposition. Everybody says the same thing. Hi, I'm David. I'm a really nice guy. You call me on Sunday, I'll call you back. You text me, I'll text you back. I got the best programs, the best rates, the blah, 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 blah. Hi, I'm so-and-so realtor. I'm always going to answer your. You need more than that now. You need unique selling propositions. And you're learning that in other things like, lead generation or whatever. But in the mortgage business, we need to be unique, and we are. You need to be unique, and we're helping you to be that. We want to help you with your USP.
And this question actually came up between us. You can buy a house anywhere in the country.
I could buy it anywhere.
Anywhere in the world. Okay.
Anywhere in the country.
That's
You let Jim Volk of Wallick and Volk, my chairman of the board, he's 81 years old, and I'll be going there for a board meeting in about 3 weeks and staying in his home. I think he'd have a heart attack if I bought something in Canada, but otherwise, United States.
Yeah.
But again, because we do it circumstantially, we really try to only advance the amount we need to advance to make it work, because really we want that pleasant surprise to be, you did your job, sold their home, and they got a check coming for $325,000 still, right? Or even conversely, the loan officer will say to me, hey, they're buying this house in Phoenix for $500,000, and they want to put 20% down. Okay, 100 grand. They have this house over here, but at the numbers, it doesn't work for them to put 20% down. And the first thing I was taught in the mortgage business, 1987, it doesn't matter what they want. What matters is what they can get. That applies to your world too. You probably drive a lot of people around with what they want and have a hard time getting them to what they can get, right? But we'll structure the deal and say, okay, yeah, but we can buy that house, and when you get that reserve that was held back because it finally sold, you could take that money and put it on your mortgage as a recast, and I'll get you the same place that you would have been. It's just going to be in an order that isn't the way you prefer. But this is what I can do, and this is what I will do, and yours is just a fantasy. Because I can't do what you want, but I can get you in that house doing it my way and get you the exact same place at the end. You just got to understand the flow, and we'll teach it to you. So it's a lot of it's just a lot of common sense. I mean, as a lender, to talk about things that maybe he says or doesn't say, like just Wallick and Volk, the lender, we do escrow holdbacks. Okay, so you're going through your walkthrough with your client, and you're using Wallick and Volk obviously for this to happen. You're going through your walkthrough with your client just before you close, and it's 83 degrees and rising, right? Air conditioning is shot, right? Like air conditioning guy comes out, oh yeah, no, it's this, blah, 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 blah. Seller's like, I don't have any money to fix it. Buyer's like, I ain't fixing it. It's his problem, right? I haven't taken it yet. This usually happens the second day of home ownership, not the walkthrough, right?
Right.
But in this case, I was lucky. And we go to the seller like, hey, you got to fix the air conditioning. What's it? I don't have the money. Okay, we'll put it in an escrow holdback, and we'll take the money from you and fix the air conditioner for our client. Oh, okay, I can do that. I'm getting like $100,000, but I don't have the 10 grand to fix the air conditioner. Okay, we'll make that happen. People don't do that. Like most lenders would be like, when it's fixed, let me know. And not only when it's fixed, let me know after the appraiser's gone out there, taken 26 pictures and sent me a reading from some Elon Musk thermometer verifying that it's 68.2 degrees in the living room. Like, we don't think like that. We think, how do we make things happen? How do you do it with common sense? Because lending is common sense. It used to be common sense, right? AUS and all the things that make it easier got rid of common sense. It used to be you talked to people, you had explanations, and you made things work. Now it's, no, it doesn't work. No, it does. You got the wrong information in here, and that's why you're getting that result, right? Technology's got its place. It doesn't replace any of us. And AI in lending is a joke. You know when AI in lending works? When every borrower is a 780 FICO score, been on their job 10 years with a salary, not variable income, all putting 20% down with reserves. If they got that, I'm pretty sure AI Rocket program can give you a mortgage. But most people have a circumstance, right? In the mortgage industry right now, and in your industry, it's all pre 3% again. Remember when we grinded on every deal? Every deal was a grind. Every deal was you're biting your nails for it to close. Every person's circumstance was a little bit different than the others. Right now, we're running into a rash of these bank statements where they have those companies where they did zero interest, pay later. They're not showing up on their credit report. They're showing up on their bank statements. And Fannie and Freddie had said, we're going to underwrite bank statements now because these people have debt that you're not reporting. Like AI is not going to figure that out. So yes, we'll buy anywhere in the country, provided the deal makes sense. I have not had in 6 months a single property sell for above the AVM. And so what that means is this: maybe you've got a house already listed and it's 688,000, right? And we run an AVM on it, and the AVM's like 653.5. It's close, but it's not. And we give our advance based on that. We'll still acquire it at your list price because we want to make the comp as high as possible. Remember, when we buy that property, we just created the comp itself. We made this mistake 3 years ago. We buy the property for what we were willing to give them, and then everyone's saying, "This house just sold for 300,000. How are they possibly asking 650?" And like, all right, big mistake, right? I'd rather pay. We'll pay any amount because it doesn't matter what I pay. It matters what I advance, right? So in that case, we'll advance, the 400 and something thousand on the 688, and like to a T, every final sales price in the last 6 months is coming in AVM or below, because we know that's your strike point, right? And not every property is selling for ask anymore, although they would lead you to believe it is based on national statistics, but that's different marketplaces affecting the totality of it. So the trailing property side of the equation, just to make sure we're all on the same page, it's circumstantial. Every one of them we'll look at. It can be used as a tool. It doesn't have to be used as a weapon. It could be, we could do this every single time. Let me show you how we're going to make you non-contingent. And you could take your client that you have listed their house, you have a listing already, right? And now you're in the process of showing them their next house. And your way today is contingent. My way is, if you've had the conversation and they agree with you that if at the end it's not sold, they'll do the cash to win. Now you're making non-contingent offers over here.
No one costs them 1.5%.
1.5% of the price that we acquired for.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, in the big picture,
Actually, they shouldn't be going at the 680, they should, because that.
Right, except for the sale price is the problem. They'd be better off listening to me and go lower, but then I create the comp. So they should be going at the fair
Well, I mean,
value.
but the
Yeah,
ABM.
like 650.
Yeah.
I do it
You're
all
not
the
trying to
time.
inflate.
People are like, I insist that it's 725. And I said, you are never selling that house for 725. We'll pay you the 650 contractually that it is. And good luck if you can do it. But why pay fees on money that we know is not real?
That's fine.
It doesn't hurt me on the reserve no matter what. Because remember, my reserve is based on reality. They can have fantasy. They could say it's 7.2 million.
Right.
Okay. You want to pay me 1.5% of 7.2 million on your
Yeah.
condo in Glendale? Feel free. But I don't want to take it from you. We've never taken a property. We've never walked away from somebody over their circumstances. We have lost money. So it's, some properties have been upside down for us, and we learned those lessons. The largest loss so far was like 43,000. We don't pursue the consumer if we end up upside down. So in theory, they ended up better off than they should have on the original transaction, because what they got was already more than what there was left at the end. Now we try not to do that too often, because then I'm sitting where David is and David be the new CEO and talking to you, right? So we try to make it make sense, but also when it doesn't make sense, we're like, yeah, no, this doesn't make sense. It just doesn't work. Sometimes it doesn't work. Any other?
1.5% is the fee, right?
Yes. That's on the trailing property, because remember, we're holding that for time.
Okay. Does that cover like closing costs or anything? or-
No, that's just our fee.
That's the fee.
Yeah, so the cost of the title company would be in addition. They're not there's a per diem, an interest only per diem, because they're not making a mortgage payment anymore, and money is sitting there not being used. So the whole thing is to encourage moving it.
Can you explain that per diem?
Yeah, so the per diem is interest only from the day we acquire until the day we sell. Like, for example, I'll give you a great example. We just did this one, the one I mentioned to you in North Phoenix. Their per diem charge turned out to be about $17,000 when they finally settled and closed. They had been out of the other mortgage that they were paying on from November. So November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, like 9 months of no.
They were living there.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So you can pay me now or pay me later. It's not really a cost, because you took out this and you converted it to that. They would have been paying it anyways.
And-
So the easiest way to describe it is you stop making a mortgage payment, but you turn the clock on for interest. So we need to sell this thing.
Exactly.
And
But you're still not
motivation.
paying it at
It's also
that time.
motivation and our cost. So here's the 100% truth as to why that has to happen. Every dollar in cash that I take from Wallick and Volk and put either into the purchase side or the trailing property side is a dollar I have to borrow from a warehouse lender to fund our regular business. Right? So before that, $60 million was just pay yourself, right? So we'd fund your regular mortgage, your rate was 7.5%, say, right? And then we would collect the per diem ourselves, because that's what you get on the settlement statement, right? 23 days at blah, 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 blah. And that money was ours for putting out our cash. All the cash we put over here, now we have to go to our warehouse lender for the regular loan to fund that deal, because cash is not unlimited. I mean, we're 250 strong and we have a ton of cash, but there's a cost. We're having a real cost now because we'll warehouse lend on our regular FHA purchase in Mesa, but at the same time, I took that 300 grand and I threw it over at your property in Buckeye. It sucks in Washington State, because Washington State has the Washington State excise tax, and it's like they're in the mortgage business themselves, much like New York State. And you have an area over here. Is it Buckeye that has their little transfer tax? Sun City.
Oh, yes.
One of them has like a tax for selling. Even when we just bought it,
Capital improvement.
It's
well,
not
we pay it. They won't waive it, even though we just bought the property from them and are selling it for at or less than we. So we have to pay for all that crap. So there's certain places where it's not that advantageous. Sun City, I think that's the one. So beware of that.
I got a question. Have you guys used the cash to win purchase on any new builds?
Like when they actually closed, like at the end.
I mean, just purchasing up front, because what comes to mind is, for instance, something like Starlight, right? Starlight will run this great incentive, and you know, they were running a 4.99 covering closing costs, or even a 6%. But all they're doing is bumping up the purchase price as well. So I'm thinking, could it be applicable to compete with their in-house?
If they were to negotiate with you a price that.
Well, they will. If you don't use their incentive, you can get that.
Well, if you could free up the money, we can use it. Correct.
So
yes.
You can do the cash price, do it at the let's say 400,000, because I believe that's their cash price on one of the models. And what they will sell it to you if you use their incentive is like 425. So they add 25 grand on.
Right.
So
if you can create a lower price, then you can make a structure that works.
Yeah, you restructure it, and then you can do the 2-1 buy down, and now you can compete with their in-house lender.
1999, arrive in Arizona from Connecticut. Look at what's going on here, especially the new build. As a loan officer, and my eyes were like this big, only to find out that you're not going to do any of those deals because they all have somebody that they're illegally in bed with, illegally forcing you to use. It's illegal. You could never do it in any other circumstance, but the builder still does it to this day. And it's all of them. And, you know, once in a while they'll waive it because they want, and maybe now as it softens a little bit, they might get a little bit more negotiable. But in that case, like if they go, yeah, we built 30 grand in here anyways, we'll take that off and you can play with it on your side. We end up in the same net, then yeah, she could do that. Yeah. I like the idea, and I promote it all the time, using the program to create transactions, whether you use the program or not. Because all we're looking to do is create transactions. The whole thing is to create the transaction. If it doesn't end up with a mortgage in his hand, I've accomplished nothing. We will, because it's a relationship with you as part of your unique selling proposition, we will buy trailing properties where they're going to pay cash for something and there's no mortgage for Wallick and Volk to be had. But we'll do that because it's a relationship we have with you. So I get real estate agents all the time saying, hey, I heard about this program. My client wants to buy this property for cash. And I said, well, are you working on this? No, I've got this guy at Fairway. Good luck. Hope that works out for you. What's the purpose? Why would I do it if there's not at least a pathway? At least lie to me. And say, hey, I'm working with this guy at Fairway, but I'd love to talk to you and see what you have to offer. Like, give me a little bit of love. Give me a little sugar, right? So if he's willing to have a conversation and have a relationship as to what makes me, then yeah, sure. And you know, we know that some of them they're just doing to do what they got to do. But the ones that are really in it for the long term are looking to build. Because I've been doing this for a long time, and it's always been thinking outside the box, right? We have a simple benefits program where you try to sign up an employer to give these benefits, and the real estate agent gives a little cut. We give a cut. Next thing you know, we're giving every employee in that place $4,000 worth of incentives to use us instead of their cousin Edna, who hasn't sold a house in 3 years but still has her real estate license, right? And then he's got the excuse at Thanksgiving to say, Edna, they gave me all this money. I had no choice. It was the program at work, right? As a loan officer, I had Boeing, MD helicopters, on semiconductor at the same time under this program. I did 300 loans a year from employee benefit lending and never had to chase any of it. My role for this company today is I'm not looking to originate a loan. I'm looking to originate 1,000 loans. And like this type of opportunity is how you do that. And the same thing with the benefit thing, when he's got information on that, that's another story. Maybe come back next time. Maybe even keep the guy that walked away on my awesome presentation to go hear about lead gen, whatever, and show you like this other, like these are all things that can make you different. And by the way, I'll tease you with this last piece, and then I'll take whatever questions you have and I'll let you out of here. That simple benefits program where we created this, it's like an educational platform where you as a real estate agent give X amount of dollars to anyone that comes through the program. If they buy a house, and David and Wallick and Volk gives a credit and say it comes out to $4,000. We did it with East Coast Valley Collision, a little auto body shop on East Main Street in Mesa, Arizona. 18 total employees. In 1 year, we did 6 transactions. The real estate agent did all 6 transactions, buying people houses from that 18-person account. Everyone will always say, I need to go get AT&T. No, you don't. They're not going to talk to you. But companies like air conditioning company with 50 employees, this, that, whatever, the sky's the limit. But you got to think outside the box, and you got to be willing to do the work. You've got to be willing to do the work. And most people don't want to do the work, right? So, you can't, I always say you can't just be mowing down floors. You got to plant seeds, right? You got to mow down the floors. You got to pay all your bills this month, but you should be spending a bunch of your time planting seeds, at least every part of your day. As a loan officer, I tell every one of them, you should be hunting at least half your day. If you're not hunting half your day, you're not a loan officer. Well, you say you are, but you sit at your desk. And I don't know who's walking in here today looking for a mortgage, but maybe they're just going to walk into your office. I walked up to one loan officer, grabbed his phone. I said, "Do you see the new feature on this?" He's like, "No, what is it?" I go, "It makes outgoing calls now."
How many people are running this down? That to me is huge. Door knocking to me is more than just door knocking, and I call it walkabouts. So I'll walk into break rooms of grocery stores and just start talking to people. If I had this kind of thing to start talking about, that's dynamic.
I could, I'll run Zoom presentation for if you want to. If you get a significant situation you want me to show up and do like I'm doing here, I'll do it. So coordinate with.
So do you see that starting? You just see
No,
that
I don't
going
know.
to the management of that company? Or?
How many agents are in? How many agents were invited to be here today?
300.
Okay, there's your answer. Here, it's right here.
But right, no, I'm talking about
Same
that.
thing out
Yeah,
there. The same. No, for less. Some of you are here because you're probably obligated under the tutelage of the lovely lady that I met, and that's why you're here,
I know.
right? But others are here because they want to learn something. Look at this room and put that out into the world of simple benefits or cash to win or escrow holdbacks or fixing their credit or all the things that could be done to get people into houses, right? And this room says it all.
So coming from my back to
Nobody's out
my
there.
business end.
I don't think anyone is in your
previous-
marketplace promoting.
So you're going, yeah, I know they're not. Would I walk into a store, I would meet with management, or would I talk to Safeway on a whole, the corporate Safeway, or would I talk to individual manager about talking to
Your issue is going to be, your issue is HR. HR director is going to be the one that decides, I'm willing to put this out in front of our people or not. That's why, Safeway sounds awesome, but Safe Man alarm service is a better choice than Safeway, because you'll spend all your time going nowhere at Safeway while you get 4 franchises of Safe Man alarm and all 30 of their employees under the program. Big is not the answer because you can't get big anymore.
Yeah, and that was just
Look at my
I was only thinking.
Yeah.
My local grocery store knows me as Keller Williams Mike.
Yeah.
When I walk through the door, everybody knows me.
You may be able to do it.
So that's why I use Safeway.
Yeah.
As an example, it wasn't
No, I
the size of the
understand.
company, but you're right. Going to the local pest control guy is way better.
Well, look at it. It's 2024, and I don't have MD helicopters anymore. I don't have ON Semiconductor anymore, and I don't have Boeing anymore. Why? Boeing owned MD helicopters. They're right across the street from each other. And after 4 years of doing the program, putting tons of people into homes, someone figured out that it's a government procured operation, and I'm not a government procured lender. And that wiped those 2 out instantly. The HR person almost got fired over it. And it didn't take much longer after that for ON Semiconductor to start doing business with some other company. And when they disclosed this relationship, they said, you can't have that. And that was the end of that. Small is better. You know why? Because small is something you can go in there with donuts and talk to 6 people, have a little conversation today, boom, 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 anyone that's got anything going on, how to put it, like, it's manageable for you. I would go to Boeing and there'd be 100 people in their training center having a conversation on how to become a homeowner. And I obviously did loans, but it wasn't the same as it would be for you to know all 30 people at the shop.
My whole platform life, what I did was talking to the Volk people.
Yeah.
That's, I mean,
But you're going to be,
but I completely agree with
and you'll be a laydown converting it over to smaller, more intimate marketplaces. Anything else?
So you're saying you're not GSA approved to provide loans for any military?
No, what I'm saying is that you had to be an approved government vendor to be inside of Boeing as part of what they had to offer. We're Fannie, Freddie, Ginnie, HUD, we're USDA, we're all direct lender for all that stuff. Yeah.
And so you provide material for
Absolutely.
providing?
We have a
Intro.
We have a PowerPoint presentation that David should have for simple benefits, and it spells it right out for you. Anything that he has can be co-branded. He can just get my marketing people to co-brand it, you and him. You could establish a Zoom meeting with a group. I could run it for you if you'd like, so you're comfortable doing it yourself. Sky's the limit. I did a Zoom meeting yesterday in Dallas. There were 57 real estate agents registered under one team leader's group. So it must be one of those, all these agents work for her type of thing. She had 57 people register, 20 people attended, which is pretty high, right? By the end of it, she was so focused on like getting out to the other 37 because she couldn't believe they missed it type of thing. And we've already had 3 referrals this morning from that conversation yesterday, but there were 20 agents in that room. And Dallas, much like this area, people are coming from other places, right? So you got that trailing property possibility. You got this competing in this marketplace, cash situation, whatever.
And that's really huge because it's 300. The number used to be 297 that come in every day. We're not talking about the border. My sarcasm.
Yep.
Those folks on the other end that want to get over to Arizona, many times are held back by, in a lot of cases, I get referrals from agents outside of California, so because they're friends, but they're not doing the same work that I would be doing to get them out. So it's slow on their end. So if I can make that happen for them on that end, make that agent happy because they're happy, then because they get to keep it all,
Yeah.
and then get them over here. That's the thing.
Like,
That's what the thing true.
you choose my words properly. I don't need to artificially motivate any of you to do anything. And, I'm here for him and for Wallick and Volk. And like I said, I'm not trying to do a loan, I'm trying to do 1,000 loans at a time. I know it works, I see it works, I've done it, I do it. I'm in the grind every single day. I'll give you one last cash to win story, and then I definitely need to go to my next appointment. We have a loan officer in Mesa, Rob Elder, because I only tell the truth. That's my other problem. I have no filters, and I tend to give too much information. Rob Elder has a nurse from California. She's under contract to buy a house in Mesa, $500,000. She's putting 30% down. Everything's great, except offer letter is no good. Offer letter is contingent on getting your Arizona state nursing certificate, which isn't automatic. You got to apply for it, and drug test and background check, which those two mean nothing to me. It's the first thing. Closing is the 28th, which is tomorrow, I think. 28th. All the way up to this week, that certificate's coming, it's coming. Not coming. It could be 2 weeks, more. And the employer hasn't done any of the background check or drug test because they're not wasting the money, $30 on that until they have her certificate to show that she's got a nursing degree. All right, we'll buy the property, $500,000. She put up the 30% that she was going to put down anyways, and we funded the balance, and we will fund the balance tomorrow, about $350,000. And I'm like, relax, it's your house, here's your, in that case, there's no like manipulating the purchase price because she already has a mortgage just waiting. She needs a house. So we're going to buy her house for a week or two, and then she'll get it from us. No other lender is doing that. No other lender is doing that. Because all they know is they don't have the money, they don't qualify. She's a nurse. What if she doesn't become a nurse? What nurse doesn't become going to? That's like my son-in-law is an orthopedic doctor from San Antonio, and he's going to work for Ortho Arizona in Arizona, Gilbert, on August 1st. His wife, my daughter, and my 2 grandkids are already with me while he finishes up in San Antonio what he's going to do. He's got to come here and on June or July 9th pass the Arizona orthopedic medical exam. So in theory, he doesn't really have that job, does he? Because he's still got to go pass that. Now, he spent 8 years of his life to get here. He's going to pass it, or he's going to pass on. But he's going to pass it, right? But now it's all a mess for the house that they're buying, a new build. And this is the stuff that, comes up. Everyone's always like, how comes this last second? Well, life is messy, and a lot of these circumstances don't show up until they show up. My number one thing to all of Wallick and Volk is make your problems day appropriate. That means if you got a FICO score issue, you had that problem on day 1. If you got an income issue, you had that problem the day they handed you those income documents. What have you been doing? You better have something that's just happened be your problem to work for me. Because I don't want to hear about day 3 problems on day 33. And that's your biggest gripe with the lending industry. Docs aren't out because Aunt Edna's horse fell on her car and it's still not repaired. What? Like, when did that happen? Oh, that happened 3 weeks ago. Well, why wasn't it addressed then? Make your problems day appropriate. Same for you, right? You got a problem today, today's the day to resolve it. If we think we're going to fix it at closing 30 days from now and it's just going to go away, it's not. Take it head on, fix it. All right? All right. David, you can share my email address to anyone. If you guys have questions direct, you can. I mean, it's pretty open forum. Like I see everything. So I'm good with if you've got a question, you want to go direct, you can go to David, you can go to me, because we're all in this together. And get them the simple benefits PowerPoint too.
Yeah.
And we can talk about coming here and doing another one of these.
Yeah.
We got to get it to 7 people though.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. And this is actually the fun part of my job. Now I go back to being the president and CEO. That's the crappy part.
Yeah.
I would do this every day if this is all I had to do.
Oh.
This is like I love the hunt. I love the structure. I love being a loan officer. I love putting people into houses, seeing them 20 years later to find out that they've got $500,000 in equity and they just paid their mortgage off. I think I said it to someone earlier. They always ask me, what's the best mortgage I can get? One that you can pay off.
Yeah.
I've never refinanced a house in my life. All my mortgages were purchase mortgages. Now, my wife doesn't keep me in the house long enough to normally refinance, but like you buy it to own it, and then you forget about it, and you just, don't live off of it. Your house is not an ATM machine. Too many people are using it that way, and they're paying the price. Nice talking to y'all. Thanks for having me.
Brian,
Thank you.
That simple benefits thing he was talking about is another program we have. I have some flyers in the car. Oh. Let me catch it.
And so I started going to the streets in New York.
it sits on the market, that comes out of your whole tax, that's liquidity.
Right.
So if.
Sorry, took off, sorry.
No, it's not, yeah, I know, I feel.
But yeah, if you want to, I can talk to Stacy, the branch manager. If you want, I can set up a call or Zoom or something with her.
Okay.
No.
I drove, man, my battery died on my. Oh, man.
Good.
Yeah.
All that matters is you, man, I just wanted you to see him.
It's cool people.
Yeah, he's a different breed.
Yeah.
Oh, he's old school.
Yeah, hey, this is legit.
Right? Well, this is, makes you think, right? I mean, there's just so many opportunities.
See, I was thinking about it. I talked to an agent for a deal where it's close, but it just won't quite work.
Yeah.
Probably because they don't have enough spread for the trailer property. They want to get 30 grand. They can't get that at 7%.
Oh, so it's, yeah, see, that's what I came across is the being an issue.
Yeah, it has to make sense.
Yeah.
Hi, David, I'm Christy. I'm your agent. I just started today. Hey guys.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah. I moved over from Blue Green Vacations on timeshares.
Oh, okay. So you hardcore.
Yeah, yeah, you got the
Well,
whole hustle.
No, I didn't last a month there.
Oh, it's tough selling, yeah.
Well, it's because it's whoever comes in. And if you don't get a tour, you don't have an opportunity to sell to a customer,
Oh,
right?
that's right.
Right. So I do have an opportunity. It's my sister's home in Maryland, and she had a contingent offer. So when I was listening to Brian,
Fit perfectly.
so and here's another question: Do you know how to search for deals on Zillow that were contingent, so I can kind of cold call them and see, you know, they can do this and maybe become their listing agent?
Hey,
I told you, Zillow.
so
I guess we can ask.
So what you can do, so
I'm
if you're,
Christy, by the way.
I'm sorry, Lauren.
Lauren?
Yep.
How do you spell that?
Loren.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So if you're searching, you can use Flex MLS. You will also look at something that's expired or canceled and call through there, like if you're trying to pick up listings or and it's a hit or miss, right? They may or may not
So
have
I
been
haven't
contingent.
even registered there yet, but I will.
Okay.
But
Okay.
go to Flex MLS to do the search.
Yes, you can do the search there, but a title company can send you the list of it. I get a list, so me and one of my teammates, we call the expired and canceled list all the time. Anyway,
Oh, okay.
so
Just to talk to them and see why.
we'll try to get listings. Yeah, see if we
Okay.
can get their listing.
So who do I work with as far as the title company?
It's Magnus. We have you're with Keller, right?
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, you have a partnership. Let me.
Okay, so can I give you, whose info should I give you as far as for my sister's home? Because she had
Give me your sister's.
my sister's info. Oh, thank you so much for helping.
Yeah, of course. I will give her a call, get her set up,
Yes.
get the mortgage application started. What was the?
Well, she's selling her home, and she had a contingent offer. I think I felt it, I don't know what the situation was, but they wanted her home at the asking price.
Yeah.
And it was contingent on them selling their, the customer's home. And so now, she's, you know, not sure what to do. She's not getting any other offers. So would you mind?
Of course.
I think she's working with Coldwell Banker, and I'm like, you know what, now that I'm real estate, I would do everything I can to find and see if I can
Yeah.
help my
Yes.
Well, that's the
client.
thing.
Yeah,
we can do.
so, okay, so you don't mind calling, it's so different, the price from, you can get it, it's about 95, and here it's, I know back there is gonna go up to what we have here as far as pricing. Just have, that wave hasn't hit there yet.
All right. You said Maryland?
Maryland.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she's looking to sell there.
She's looking to sell there,
Buy there.
and right now she's going through a divorce. So she's just looking to sell because she had a contingent offer.
Well, yeah, I'll give her a
Okay.
call.
And it, she said, well, their house didn't sell, so don't.
Yeah.
She had a deal
You have a deal, but
at the asking price, but they couldn't and get anyone to buy their home.
Oh,
Now with this, so would,
Jennifer or and I'm Christy.
would you have a card by chance?
I
Like a road card even?
can ask.
I can.
Oh,
Here,
this
have
is
you
cool.
seen those? It's like
I love
those.
this.
Oh,
Where
man,
did you get
yeah.
that?
I think they have them like. Yeah,
everything we did, but that's sweet. Oh, man.
What's the stuff?
Through OO.
And then for her, it's Maryland. She's in Maryland.
She's in Maryland, Hagerstown.
And then the only thing I'm thinking of is, so we would be able to buy her house, but typically we buy the house for the transaction to get the new house. Would she,
No, she's going to be in the market to purchase, but she had a customer who had an offer.
So a
So
customer would need it to sell their house to buy her house.
Correct.
oh, so then I could talk to get the customers,
From
talk to her, get the customers name, and then
Exactly. Because she had the offer, they had, they're like, okay, we're gonna move in, and she moved in to a rental.
Oh, she thought it was a good deal.
Now she's
yeah,
a
so now
moved,
she's in hello.
where she's in Crippin' I'm like, maybe it's good I moved over here from Blue Green Vacations to do this, to help my sister get out of this situation, so she has, you know, she had an offer, and it was contingent. Like, wow, what a market. So,
That's really good there. So,
so,
I'd
okay.
make it a yeah, fight around.
So thank you. Yes, so
Yes,
thank you for helping. Please do.
I'm licensed in a lot of states, but Maryland, I don't think is one, but I'll still give her a call. We have people around. We can help.
In the
do
office?
Right, but yeah, so Maryland's pretty sure.
Okay.
So I might not be able to do it personally, but that's.
Oh, at least you helped.
Of course.
Okay, so David, can you give me the information that Brian was talking about that can give me a nice flyer to walk into that auto body shop or,
benefits.
or,
Simple benefits.
yes, and even though, we have these vendors that work at TXC that works for. So they are always, you know, moving in and out of the state, maybe giving it to their HR person, or is that something
That
that?
would be, any of those. And I want to do those, and I'd be happy to go with you.
Oh, I'm happy to.
You and I talked about it. Because that's one that it's easier to do with two people.
Correct.
Then you could be
You're the
on
expert.
side. Yeah.
You're the subject matter expert.
All the literature.
Yeah. I'm looking at a lot of these. Yeah, well, I always say that.
I got that open house thing in my truck.
So it's the simple benefits platform, and then also I have the flyer for the contingency.
Well, you're gonna send me.
I'm gonna do it.
Are you going to email us this so I can make copies, or?
Yeah.
Or you can?
Or, I mean, you got to use the copy
I
machine.
think we have, don't we have to pay for?
Do we? I've never used it. Do we have to pay the copy machine, you know? Rachel be cool. Let's tell Rachel.
Yeah. She'd probably be fine, but I'll email it to you anyways.
When I was over at
Simple
Professional
benefits
Partners.
and then the contingency, you know, having it
There's
be,
no dog, you
having
shut
it,
them off.
You just talk to them.
right, you know, having it be a key differentiator or for the listing.
Yeah.
Listing and say,
Yeah, that's good. They don't care.
here's so this is the information set.
You know, they send me the regular.
So this is where you just offer a cash deal, get the house.
$60.
Yo, you got a little happy.
So I went over to, I got happy, right? So I
It's
started.
100 divided for spot 30, that's
At least you got me in control.
And then with that spread,
Yeah.
sessions, we can put in, all this stuff, right? As long as we just think it's.
Seller,
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah,
I was like, oh, this is a joke.
Okay.
That's where it all
They're
started.
yeah, and it's just.
As we went along, we realized
You know,
those
do that.
contingencies
Some
and
fancy
stuff
effort.
were almost up, so that's when we started doing the trailer property. So,
I don't disagree at all with what you say. I see, in fact, I have companies in my head right now, I know that size, I know
for any of those, if you just process, just tell them kind of
it's just a process.
a little bit about it.
You
Or
can't just walk
I
in too.
can just send me their contact information. I'll give you all of
You're
them.
not, you're
You
gonna.
know,
Because
so
that,
you do
or that
everything like
person is.
normal and,
They're just gonna let you know.
pre-qualified, so we have that in the back pocket.
That's
The
what.
trailer property, if they don't need it, you get it.
Right.
You and I,
It's just a
I'll
nice
skip through that.
option for them to
Yeah.
consider.
But if they do, I will have all that stuff already set up. to do that.
See, who else just.
That's something. This, so this reminds me, so. It's a left file.
So this is more like for buyers. They're trying to get into one.
Yeah, yeah, so that's winning deals. The original one is just to win deals. Because cash is key, right? So we're able to buy pretty low leverage cash. If it deal lower, we just charge 1% on
I
that.
also did a whole at the same time, so it's just.
1% per diem
Come through.
That's a daily one. If you buy somebody's home or sell it, they get a dam.
So I learned a lot through that whole process, but at one point I had to go back. And I was near a Home Depot.
Okay, so there's a few things that I can start
All
off with.
people are made out the same way.
Laid back with
And then their employee breakers on this side.
Prospecting.
Well, they had this all blocked off. I'm following this lady. I know she
Have
had the
a
same
smaller
mission.
chart.
Yeah.
She just.
So that
Yeah,
was, you were
doing that walk.
to, or if you have a list or something, let me know a day or something.
So just go around to the breaker.
I can go to the store, it's your store.
I'll probably follow this. With the HR, that's how I'd like to,
Hey,
you know, with them, that's why it's an effective use of our
well, what are
time.
you doing?
So we have, you know, appointments to catch the
Really, I'm just gonna.
So I'll lead with the HR department.
What's he saying?
And then all this other component calls.
They should have started talking
Yeah.
to him. And it really was me.
And that one's just, it's huge, it's everybody, for them, because they're giving other employees scale, right? Ownership. Against the real estate side,
Yeah.
programs, whatever.
Those are bigger than escort.
That's usually how they share, go to it.
Yeah.
With this,
I came in.
Separate difference between they change.
Almost 90% of it.
Okay.
Somebody asked a question about that. If you're gonna not, it's kind of frustrating. That person asks
Yeah,
questions.
so I would have to think about targeting those folks that are
Just answering that question, start walking around.
relocating in my state. Just a high percentage of them, usually the military, so I saw,
Yeah, I'm just trying to improve the community.
you know, that would be market to
Listen,
offer that there.
you can't sell this. Wait, because if you don't want me to sell houses,
Property, yeah,
I think you might want to buy something.
Yeah.
But I suppose I can pick up all the shit and just leave if you need to work like that, if you want. She goes, otherwise we're just gonna throw it out. So listen,
Okay.
There's a lot.
so I.
Either way,
Yes, it's just because the quick.
let me know.
I can give you a card.
I'm doing boots on the ground.
Catch me on the way out.
House.
No, people are walking up to
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that would be better. I just go to open houses just to
growth in the community of a home building center.
Yeah. 'cause you
Right,
already,
this is
like,
the whole.
unless I-
Right.
Yeah.
You got Nolan's right over there.
Yeah, I'll just go with the
Yeah,
wall.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It was a
it
pleasure.
really was.
Meet you as well.
But,
I
you know,
will,
90%,
send you
so
a
that,
LinkedIn invite. I sent one to Brian.
I will
didn't
say
get a chance
100%
to
of quick trips
Yeah.
would
get
not
great
let you do
information,
that.
and you know, all my
Yeah, listen to
I'll
you.
let him know.
information, because we just have a good solution for my
So you find out who does it,
So
who doesn't.
tell my.
Right, like, okay, this, say what you do, but I'm pretty sure to, if you go to a small, pizza shop, that's not a big franchise, you're not easy.
My email you have.
Quick Trip is a
Oh,
great
thank
example.
you.
So they won't let you do it, right? Anything, things or buy or sometimes or anything. Better not talk about it, because we could just not into business. But in that listing, it was a gas station that was just owned by some guys from India. You know, and I asked him, I said, can I leave some of this? Sure. I said, "Oh, okay." They asked me that one guy was interested in real estate, could he come and agent? I said, okay, I'm taking this side too. Get a little undergrowth underneath me, you know. And so we just developed this relationship, and I think, for whatever reason, I wasn't there for 100 years. And I stopped in to get gas. Actually, the reason was I sold it. I stopped in there to get gas because I wasn't going to go to the Quick Trip. Right? This guy's supporting me, right? So I go over there to get gas, cost me no money, I don't care. I didn't care. And I walked in, he goes, hey, you haven't given me any pieces of paper to put out for my customers. Let's go. I'm like, I can bring other stuff for you. I said, I was sold. He goes, oh, that's good. Good for you.
Dang.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. So you just get friends and relationships.
Okay.
Yeah. You figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah, you figure it out for sure.
How long have you been?
About 2 years.
So we're about the same.
Oh, really?
Uh,
Yeah.
what did you do before?
Morning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, rocket.
Yeah, I was rocket. Look, I got the backpack still.
Oh, yeah, that's a good backpack.
I know, man.
Quality.
Yeah, I was in the mortgage industry for a few years, so I got off the jump off the front end.
Wow,
Straight
it's
to the
much
fire.
more of a grind.
Yeah, I'm still top 100 mortgage partners.
Yeah, like, I see. That's what caught my eye when
Yeah.
you was at meeting before. I was like, man,
Yeah.
no, man, I love everything I heard, and I love Brian's, energy and everything, man. I seen.
It's a good company.
I did not.
You did not.
I got no. Sorry, no. I caught what you just said after you said it.
Yeah.
I did not realize the power.
That's what I was trying.
I did not. I didn't realize the power in that listing presentation. Bringing this to the table when zero other people are. No good.
You are offering a 100%.
Yeah, yeah. So what came to my mind is that my listing in Sun City West, a lot of people came in out of state. Like, oh yeah, I gotta get my house sold first. I gotta get my house sold first. I want to pay cash. I had a guy.
You saw that listing?
No, sold man. So they was one guy, he was interested in a house, and he could have, he could have got financed, but he just didn't want to.
Right.
He just didn't want to.
I do a lot of work out that area.
Yeah, so like this is a good area, and that's what I was thinking of the builder stuff. And I was like, I'm not so it's like Starlight, which is impossible. Starlight does that. They jack up the price. I didn't know that because I was taking a client out there to see, and I talked to Agent Randy. She was like, yeah, if you don't even consider this a lower price, and I asked them, it's 25 G's. I'm like, maybe they can work with their 25 G's.
Yeah.
Buy it for their.
I knew what you were
Yeah.
throwing out there, but I just didn't know the incentives.
Yeah, so now that makes me say, we call them all and say, if it's a cash for no incentives. Now we can say, no, we do it back here.
Lower cash.
This recording's off. What was this recording?
It was on for a second.
I got a question.
I actually don't know.
Because there was something I didn't want to, I feel comfortable talking to you about.
Yeah.
Well, he knows me, but when I started bringing up that commission conversation,